So allow me to introduce to you Miss Layla Awadh, who will now share her experience of wrong diagnosis, how she suffered, what her ordeals were, and when finally she experienced the love and care of Dr. Salma, how she has progressed into a healthy patient today. Please join me in welcoming Miss Layla Awadh. Let's give her a big hand.
Shalom. My name is Layla Awadh. I've had endometriosis for 21 years. I was diagnosed when I was 18 years old, but I've actually had it when I was 9 years old, and I'll tell you my story of misdiagnosis, confusing it for other things, and we'll get into that with my story over here. Okay. I'm here today to share my story of endometriosis. This is my effort to shed the light on the millions of women suffering with this disease, experience it on a daily basis. The good, the bad, the ugly, and hopefully the positive results. As a young girl, my first onset of symptoms started at the age of 9 years old. I, for one, started menstrual cycles very early on in age. From the start off, my cycles were extremely painful. I remember I would be in bedridden pain. My cycles were erratic, continuing for months at a time, which left me in an anemic state that would vanish a month or two before the agony began again. That was the first sign something was wrong with this picture. My mother had took me to the emergency room many times for pain relief, but they would always confuse it for just regular period pain. I visited my first gynecologist at the age of 11. I was told to only have dysmenorrhea, and I have hormonally irregular cycles. Dysmenorrhea is defined as painful menstrual cycles. I was sent off with birth controls and a painkiller, with the promise that my symptoms would die down as soon as my cycles were regulated. Unfortunately, endometriosis had another idea in its mind of its own. However, my pain continued to increase, resulting in numerous doctor appointments and being assured time and time again that it's nothing more than typical period pain. By the age of 16, my pain reached yet a new level of almost debilitating form of pain. It definitely gave me a new definition of pain. Like, I thought that the pain I already had was the maximum, and I just got a whole another new definition of it. And as a young teenager, just 16 years old, it really took a toll on me mentally and emotionally. And also, as Dr. Salma stated, I didn't go out with my friends that much. I was having a lot of sick days from school. It was affecting my life socially, educationally, and every single aspect. So, in the quest of finding answers, we returned to a gastrointestinal specialist in suspicion of IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, as noted by a few of the many gynecologists seen for second opinions. Surely the gastrointestinal confirmed it must be IBS. I was treated for such, however the nightmare did not end there. By my senior year of high school, I was barely staying afloat academically due to the almost constant levels of pain resulting in many sick days. Desperate for answers, any that would be of some help, we resorted to searching the internet. In doing so, we came across endometriosis. We took the decision to once again see a gynecologist. The notion of possibly having endometriosis was harshly shot down. He told me, "You're too young to have endometriosis. Endometriosis, only older women get endometriosis. You're too young to have that." He thought it was crazy. And I remember also we were like, he would say, endometriosis has to be diagnosed by laparoscopic surgery. You want to scar your stomach and you're young, and then your husband is not going to want to marry you. And all these traditional stuff in the tradition of society, how they're like, oh, no, you're going to scar your stomach, and so on. So by my senior year of high school, I'll go to the next one. I took the comfort in reading and communicating with other young girls and women suffering with similar symptoms on endo forms. In addition, I took the advice of using birth controls, off and on continuously for several months at a time. To my surprise, that provided significant relief in pain. However, by the second year of college, my health took yet another sour turn. It had reached the point I was unable to attend my final exams and faced the risk of having to repeat that fall semester. Again, I was in debilitating pain, and so back to the gynecologist's office. I was faced with the demoralizing, insensitive question, could it be all in your head? You must have depression. And I remember the doctor, he was like, you must be crazy. And it was like signaling, something is wrong with you. You're not all there. And I was like, well, And I was so desperate for a fix, and I was so desperate for a solution, and I was going on with this. So like in college, I was 18 years old, probably 19 starting college, and I had it since 9 years old. So I was really desperate. So I took an attempt in trying antidepressants, but the pain remained. It wasn't until one summer vacation I was visiting my grandmother that she expressed similar symptoms, which eventually led to her hysterectomy. My aunt had growing up suffered from the very chronic menstrual cycle pain too. That circled us back to endometriosis, having read it can be hereditary. Upon our return to Kuwait, we demanded an exploratory laparoscopic surgery to be performed. Behold the results, indeed it was endometriosis. I was told it was only 2 mm, which he scraped off. And here I want to note something. First thing, when we came in, I told him we wanted to do a exploratory laparoscopic surgery. I was shot down. I was like, again, that it's all in your head. You want to scar your stomach. And he was saying, God help whoever marries you. You want to wear the pants. You want to be the pants in the family. Some of you, I know you don't know English. يعني كان يقول لي أنت تبين تكونين رجال. أنت فيك اكتئاب. أنت مو صاحية. أنت. So. And he also told me, what did he say? I'm not done. And when he told me he found 2 mm, first of all, and I'll get back to that later, but at that time I didn't know that scraping endometriosis off was the wrong way. I didn't know that the right way would be with the minimal excision. Because I didn't know that there was invisible endometriosis, that it can be under the layers of the skin. I thought this is the right way, just see it and just scrape it off. And I didn't know that there couldn't be any more than that. Unfortunately, at that point, I wasn't properly treated. From my research, I know the protocol is once endometriosis has been diagnosed, birth controls are prescribed as prevention method. However, because I was told it was only 2 mm was found via scraping, any sort of prevention treatment wasn't necessary. Little did I know at the time that first, there's such thing as invisible endometriosis, which cannot be accessed by simply scraping visible endometriosis tissue. And second, simply scraping affected endometriotium tissue isn't the proper method in removing endometriosis. It is very much like cancer, just like Dr. Salma stated. If you leave any cells, anything remaining, and you don't remove it correctly, it's going to come back again. So he didn't remove it correctly. Once again, 4 years later, I was in debilitating pain. Before I continue on this, I also want to state that at that point, I must have had like stage 1, stage 2. And had he had moved it correctly, I probably wouldn't have reached stage 4 and beyond. So it's a misdiagnosis on his part and incorrect treatment. Unfortunately, I've like, by this time, when I was in university, I probably had seen like 15 doctors, 20 doctors at least. Many of them are misinformed, and they're doctors, they're gynecologists. So once again, 4 years later, I was in debilitating pain. I sought out a new gynecologist. His first question to me was, why didn't you take any preventive treatment? And he was angry. He was like, why in the world did you sit all this time, you removed it, and you just sit and you don't do anything? I said, well, the doctor, when he looked at my medical file, he said that there was only 2 mm, and that was all it was found. And that's what I had told him. And when he looked at my medical report, he actually saw that I didn't even have 2 mm. It was far beyond 2 mm. But the previous doctor, because he was so insistent on proving that he was right and you can't get endometriosis at that age, he was so insistent on his ways. Even when he found endometriosis, he was still in his own ways that, no, you're too young, it's not going to come back, and oh, that's it, if it's just a little, it's not going to come back. He concluded I had reached stage 4 at that time based upon my pain and many other symptoms, which he gave me preventive medication at that time. He gave me birth controls. And then after that, he actually gave me Visan, which at that time was a new medication that had just came out for endometriosis, a hormone-based medication to manage endometriosis. I was prescribed Visan to use continuously for 2 years to decrease my pain and to put endometriosis in somewhat in a doormat state, 1 year later, my pain was still in gradual increase. I was faced with the decision of having to resign from my job. And I was eventually admitted for debilitating pain. I was hospitalized for severe pain. I remember that day I had an outpatient appointment with my doctor. And I already had a lot of pain during the day, but it wasn't so bad that I couldn't get out and drive my car and go to my appointment. And as many of you probably know, in government hospitals in Kuwait, it's very typical. You can go 8 a.m. in the morning and leave at 12 or 1 p.m. By the time I came to leave, I could not even get out of my seat. I couldn't even get to the car. And my daddy was really frustrated. He was like, this has been going on for many, many years. We need to find a solution. I want the doctor to admit you. When I was admitted, meeting the board, the doctor's boards in the hospital, they decided to transfer me to a pain clinic. And there I was treated, and that kind of managed me the pain for a few years. But soon after a few years, like 4 or 5 years, that wasn't enough anymore. It wasn't until this conference, actually, that I heard about that I decided to come to Dr. Salma. Otherwise, I had actually gave up hope because I had been to so many doctors, and I had actually went to see Dr. Salma. I was probably 28 years old. I'm going to reach 30 now. So that's a long time where I was misdiagnosed, mistreated. And this is also why I really think this is really important, this awareness. There's so much that, like, look at my history, that's gone wrong. So I ended up coming to Dr. Salma, and she concluded right away I must have endometriosis. I had surgery, and pretty much like the picture showed, it was all basically black. And she removed it, and I'm on birth controls, and now it's managed, and I don't even have to take hardly any of the medication I used to take from the pain clinic before. I can have kids. Before, when I was in the government doctor, the gynecologist that I've been before, they said, forget about it, you can have children, you're not gonna, if you want to have children, there's probably no chance. If you do, you have to get twins, and you have to use IVF. I was basically told, you're 28, coming on 30, forget about it, it's impossible. But all that has changed due to Dr. Salma and this conference. So I hope that some of you out here, like if you have really bad periods, your sisters, your mother, the women in your family, it really is, people don't realize how much is out there in society. As Dr. Salma stated, it's like 1 in 5 women. And it affects every aspect of someone's life. Last thing I want to say is, don't give up hope. If anybody actually, not just any health issue that you keep going to the doctor and you don't know what's going on, they don't know what's going on, and you keep going back and forth and get shot down, don't give up any hope. And there's always light at the end of the tunnel. And power is knowledge. Like, I didn't know anything. I didn't know that there was invisible endometriosis. I didn't know that scraping was wrong. I didn't know any of this. So I hope that my experience has shed the light on what women go through and what a lot of teenagers who have periods also go through, and it's always mistaken for just regular period pain. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.